I thought it was recording for like 10 minutes and it wasn't. I was just talking to myself. Kia ora everyone, I'm Mai Hoki Mai. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Renee. I like to read books and then talk about them on the internet. I've only gone and done it again. I've ordered way too many books and I need to show you what I got because it's kind of sickening how many books I've got sitting here in front of me. I don't get given a lot of books as gifts for Christmas or like birthdays. I don't really know why, but it doesn't bother me. I like being able to gift myself books. It feels like a nice little treat that I know I'm gonna get a lot of satisfaction and joy from. In November, kind of late November, early December, I like to make a bunch of orders, take all the little bits of information I've gathered throughout the year, people's favorite lists that have come out, like top book lists, all that kind of stuff. And I like to have a bit of a blowout. I buy an excessive amount of books. They all start arriving in the mail. I start to feel physically ill at the sight of them and just how much I've gone overboard. And then I kind of just like feel immense amounts of joy and happiness. Yeah, I don't know what stage we're quite at yet. Maybe somewhere between that. Maybe after I film this, we'll be at the joy stage. I know I've been given shit before about how I tend to not talk about books or what they're about. They're very detailed, but there are honestly too many books to do that. You'd be here forever and it'd be boring. So if there's anything that you see that you're interested in, like you can ask or you could just look it up. Like, because that's what I've gone and done. I've literally seen some of these books in people's like Instagram stories and been like, what is that? And then gone and looked it up and been like, okay, I like the sound of that. I'm going to get that. We're going to start with poetry because that feels like a nice place to start. First up we have Mary Oliver's Devotions. A lot of people recommended this as a good turning point for Mary Oliver. I know a lot of people read this and love it, so I picked that one up. Diving into the Wreck by Adrienne Rich. A lot of faves read this, so that's why I picked this one up. Got me a second-hand copy, love it. Path of Totality by Nino Polari. This was Sam from And Books on Instagram, one of her favorites in 2022. That's why I picked it up. She has exquisite taste and I had to see what it was about. Runaway by Jory Graham, collection of poetries that I know nothing about. I want to read something of Jory Graham's, and Lindsay from In and Of on Instagram recommended this as a good place to start. I think my dog has nibbled the corner of this. Great. Thank you, Mars. And the last collection of poetry is always italicized, How to Write Well Colonized by Alice Tupunga Somerville. Wow, that was a really weird way I enunciated every single word in that title. This is a collection of poetry written by a Māori poet. I want to read more poetry this year and I want to read more by Māori writers. So this kind of ticks a few boxes. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. Have heard great things. Okay, next we have non-fiction, and I'm gonna kind of separate them into the two categories, which I have is like essays and then memoir. Aurelia by Catherine Davis. This was a book that I saw kind of floating around. People were talking about it, enjoying it. Don't know anything about Catherine Davis or who she is. It was $3 on Book Outlet, so I thought, why not? We'll give it a go. We'll see how it goes. But I saw that it also made quite a few people's like best of 2022 lists as well, so that made me even more excited. Picked up the Copenhagen trilogy. I got Childhood, Youth, and Dependency. Kind of scared but excited to read this. It's a very dark, kind of depressing and sad story about Tove Ditlevson's life. I'm not sure whether it's a full memoir or some parts of it might be like auto-fiction. Yeah, I'm not sure, but It's in the non-fiction section in my brain. And the last memoir we have is Simple Passion by Annie Ernaux. I read Annie Ernaux last year. For the first time I read Happening and I loved it, and I've heard that this is very good. I've written about the 2-year affair that she has in a very different kind of way. Yeah, just sounds really good. I can't wait to read it. Okay, next non-fiction section we've got is what I like to call books that I hope will make me smarter, or essay collections. We have The Hatred of Poetry by Ben Lerner. I picked this up because of Hato. They spoke about it on one of their wrap-ups, I think, and it sounded really good. It sounded like an argument for poetry and why Ben Lerner loves it so much and why it should be celebrated. Felt like a good piece to add to my poetry reading this year. Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. This is a collection of essays about why there is this breakdown in conversations, and a lot of conversations between men and women. Ideas around mansplaining and this assumption that men have that women don't know anything about things and so therefore need to tell them about those things. I'm sure this is going to be a very relatable collection for me to read, and I feel like if I like this, I'm going to like Rebecca Solnit. And this is where I want to start, so. Seduction and Betrayal by Elizabeth Hardwick. I don't know where I got this recommendation from, but Elizabeth Hardwick is one of those writers that many writers that I read and enjoy reference and have this admiration for. This is a collection of essays about the way that women have traditionally or historically been depicted in books and in fiction. I think this is going to be very like brainy, thinky woman, and I'm excited about that. I got In the Garden by lots of people actually. Yeah, this is a series that Daunt Books does on different topics. There's one about the Hampstead Heath Ladies Pond, and one called In the Kitchen, which is about like cooking and food. And this one is about nature and growing, and it sounds like it's just going to be a really wholesome, lovely collection to slowly work my way through. This is an essay on by Jamaica Kincaid that I look forward to reading. A Little Devil in America in Praise of Black Performance by Hanif Adu-Raqib. This is a collection of essays about black performance throughout American history and the ways that certain performances or certain historical moments have influenced Hanif. He's a poet. It's supposed to be like really beautifully written, and the attention he pays to like language and the lyricism of his writing is supposed to reflect the subject in a really beautiful way. Okay, next I picked up White Girls by Hilton Owls. This was a book that I saw on Stephanie Danler's Instagram. Yeah, I saw it and thought that sounded interesting. The title definitely grabbed my attention, and I thought, what is this about? Again, it's kind of like a cultural critique on culture in 20th century America to present day, and again how that has kind of influenced the writer, who is a queer black man. Obviously talks about race and identity, and I think it'll be an interesting collection to read through. Okay, the last essay collection that I have is Raven Smith's Men. This was influenced by Nathan from Nathan's Nook. He spoke about it in one of his vlogs and it sounded great. He made it sound like so much fun, and I want more fun in 2023. Okay, now we're on to fiction. We're going to start with this pile. First up we have A Minor Chorus by Billy Ray Belcourt. This is influenced by Iggy from Literary Iggy. She read and raved about Billy Ray Belcourt this year, which is why I am now purchasing him. So thank you, Iggy. I know it's going to be great. I think this is his debut And that's all I'm going to say. Next up, I got Sleepless Nights by Elizabeth Hardwick. Like I mentioned before, feels like a seminal author text that I need to read. I heard mixed things about this, but would like to read and decide for myself what I think. Next I have The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin. She was recommended to me by a friend after I read Dune by Frank Herbert. He said that I definitely need to be getting on the Le Guin train. She's great. She, I think, likes to write a lot about feminism and indigenous ideas, practices in her sci-fi, which I think is really interesting and cannot wait to read that. Next 3 books I spoke about in my 23 books for 2023 video. It's a video about 23 books that I want to read in 2023. They were The Wall by Marlene Haushofer, Too Loud a Solitude by Bohumil Hrabal, and Women Talking by Miriam Toews. Those books were all on the list. I didn't physically have them in my hands, but now I do. I feel like I can start that list now. And I'm very much looking forward to reading each of these very different books. Next I have Checkout 19 by Claire Louise Bennett. This came on my radar. Well, I've seen and heard about it all year, but I decided to pick it up after hearing the New York Book Review podcast. It was on their top 10 list. Since then, Katie had spoke about it in her favorites video for 2022, and that kind of just sealed the deal even more for me. Katie and I have similar tastes, and I really respect her opinion when it comes to books. That's what I meant to say, books. I really respect her opinion when it comes to books. Next little pile we have is In the Distance by Hernandez. This was a book that I wasn't really all that interested in reading, but so many people have read it and talked about it and loved it and said that it was good. So I'm going to give it a go, okay? It's supposed to be a journey story about an immigrant who is trying to make his way across America to his family. He has a wild, wild journey. Yeah, the only thing that kind of is snagging me is the nature writing part, because I don't tend to love nature writing. But I think it's just because I haven't read good nature writing yet. Hopefully Hernandez does it for me. Next I picked up America Is Not the Heart by Elaine Castillo. This is one of Hannah Mae's favourite books, and the whole reason why I picked this up. It is about a Filipino immigrant who's been disowned by their family, and sounds like a wild family saga. I mean, if you speak about a book highly enough, I will eventually end up buying it. It's just what I do. I'm definitely an easily influenced person when it comes to books, and if you talk about it with enough passion. Desperate Characters by Paula Fox. This is one of those books that I see referenced a lot in literature. I think I read recently in an Elena Ferrante collection that she's read it and loved it, so I had to have it. A really short novel about a woman who tries to save a cat, perhaps, and like a series of events happens after that. But it's supposed to be very good. Next I have How to Loiter in a Turf War by Coco Solid. This is a book set in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, where I live. It is about a group of young brown girls who, I think it's set in one day perhaps. They are going about their days and they are slowly seeing the city that they grew up kind of change and gentrify, and it's supposed to be a really beautiful story. I'm reading it with a friend very soon, so you'll be able to hear what I think about this very soon. Happenstance by Carol Shields. This is 2 novellas actually. 1, 2. I don't love it when books do that, but I kind of get why. I saw this on Rebecca Eats Books Instagram, I think, like in a stack of books, and I thought I'll look that up, wonder what that's about. And it's about A Story of a Marriage, which I love reading about marriages, and it's told from the two perspectives, one from the husband's side and one from the wife's side, and they are both experiencing these role reversals in some way. Sounds really good, and I look forward to reading it. Another book about a marriage, Gwendolyn Riley's First Love. Also another book that I discovered through Rebecca Eats Books. More of a fraught kind of toxic relationship, and it sounds quite nasty, but I'm into it. I'm interested. I picked up Sweet Days of Discipline by Fleur Yagi. I picked this up because of Kieran from Kieran Reader. She mentioned this as one of her favourite books of 2022. It's about obsession and love and madness, and it's cute, so we're gonna give it a go. I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I actually picked this up after reading O Caledonia by Elspeth Barker. I've fallen in love with child narrators now, and this was mentioned in the introduction by Maggie O'Farrell. A similar story with a precocious kind of child narrator in a house. And yeah, so I thought I'd order it and see what it was about. Next I got The Faces by Tove Ditlevsen. I just picked this one up when I picked up the Copenhagen trilogy because it was one that I didn't own. And it's Tove Ditlevsen. Yeah, I think it's just a short little novella about a wife, a mother, and the many roles that she inhabits. Faces she puts on. Okay, this last pile is like authors that I purchased multiple books of, so I'm not going to talk about these books individually. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. Margaret Drabble, I picked up 2 secondhand copies of her books in Christchurch. The Millstone is one that I wanted to read, so I was glad to find. And then The Waterfall was one that I just picked up and read the back and thought it sounded quite good. I think she writes about young female characters struggling through life. Jamaica Kincaid, At the Bottom of the River. This is a collection of very, very short stories. It's supposed to be amazing. And The Autobiography of My Mother, which is a fictional story about a young woman and the different men she encounters through life. Love Jamaica's writing. I look forward to reading more of her in 2023. Next I got 5 Iris Murdochs. Haven't read any Iris Murdoch. I got A Severed Head, which is where I think I'm going to start with her because I've heard it's like absolutely fucking bonkers. I got these so cool covers, like just absolutely stunning. I want every single one of these that is available. A Fairly Honourable Defeat and The Red and the Green. I got The Unicorn and The Nice and the Good. So that's my little Iris Murdoch. I think I should probably stop buying her stuff for now and just like read one first. I picked up Helen DeWitt's The Last Samurai. This is one of those books that I wanted to read for the longest time, but every secondhand copy that I've seen is completely hideous and I refuse to buy. So I just saw that they brought out, or that there is this kind of minimalist, quite cool edition. So I picked that up. Again, young child narrator stories we love. Speaking of young child narrator stories and Helen DeWitt, I got The English Understand Will, and I actually picked this up because Ben Green said that I should, so I did, and I can't wait to read this. Apparently it is supposed to be really good. I want all of these New Directions like story series though, but they're so expensive to get in New Zealand. I wish someone needs to open a bookshop here that imports like the good editions. I got Edna O'Brien's The High Road, and then I also got Edna O'Brien's The Country Girls, which I'm so excited to read because I saw someone I think Reba Reed's channel. She's a new channel that I've just discovered recently. She doesn't have a lot of videos on there, but on her channel, but I love her vibe. She lives in San Francisco and reads a lot of literary fiction. Anyway, she was reading Elena Ferrante, and she said it reminded her of this, and that she wishes she was reading this while she was reading Ferrante. So you'll know how I love Ferrante. I'm very excited for that, and I'm excited for this as well. I don't really know what it's about, but I got it. I got 2 Toni Morrisons. I got Song of Solomon and Paradise, another author that I just need to hurry up and read. I got 3 Jeanette Wintersons. I got Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, and that gorgeous vintage cover. I got Written on the Body. This was another 23 books for 2023 book. And then I got The Passion. I love these covers so much. I've also ordered Sexy and the Cherry because of Ben Green and the same editions. I just think they're so stunning. And then the last 2 books that I picked up are by Eva Baltazar. I got Permafrost and I got Boulder, which I've just heard that these books are both like absolutely amazing. So many people put this as their favorite book of 2022, so I'm really excited to read this. I think I want to read this one first, and I'm pretty sure that Ben and I are doing a buddy read of this, so if not, this is me solidifying that in a video. That is all my Christmas spoils. I've done enough book buying to last me an entire year. Will I stop? Probably not, but it's none of your business, really. But yeah, thank you for aiding in my unhealthy book buying habit by continuing to recommend books that I should read. I really am looking forward to 2023 and all the reading that I'm going to do, especially of everything here and everything here and everything that you recommend. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Ka kite.